Mamushi has created more than 1000 clones of himself. He plans to use all of them to attack and overwhelm Boruto, Daemon and their team so he can devour Eida without anyone stopping him. Kawaki's body has overheated, which has taken him out of the fight. Sarada has also overused her Mangekyo Sharingan and has fallen unconscious. Shikamaru has now run out of strategies to control the situation. This leaves Boruto and Daemon with very little support to hold back Mamushi's attack. At this point, the situation is extremely unstable. One wrong move from Boruto or Daemon could lead to Eida being devoured by Mamushi. So the real question is, with everything already going against them, how was Eida still saved? In this video, we break down exactly how Eida survived, even though Mamushi had the clear upper hand in the battle. More than 1000 Mamushi clones were ready to attack Eida. Boruto's attention was distracted because he was worried about Sarada and whether she was safe. Mitsuki and Konohamaru were also focused on the same concern. Himawari was distracted by Kawaki's sudden condition. She wanted to know if he was okay and whether he could still defend himself and continue fighting. This meant that only Chocho, Shikadai, Delta and Daemon were fully focused and ready to defend without distraction. However, even their combined strength is not enough to help Daemon save his sister Eida from being devoured by Mamushi. This left Daemon with an internal question. Can he fight against more than 1000 Mamushi clones while also defending himself and Eida without being overwhelmed by the many different attacks coming from Mamushi and his clones? Kawaki was able to get one of the most important members of the team, Boruto, focused back on the fight. He did this by telling Himawari not to worry about him and instead focus her attention on healing Sarada. By healing Sarada and making sure she was safe, Boruto would be able to return to the battle to save Eida from being devoured. This slightly reduced the pressure on Daemon because there were now two of the strongest fighters working together to defend against Mamushi while trying to protect Eida from any attack. Himawari was able to heal the damage done to Sarada's blood vessels and stopped the bleeding from her eyes, which had been caused by using the Mangekyo Sharingan. However, she could not restore her eyesight and Sarada's eyes were still at risk of blindness. Even Eida and Sumire were worried about Sarada's condition. The fact that Sarada was now stable even though she was unconscious allowed Boruto to shift his attention back to the battle. What was motivating for the team was that Daemon, the strongest ally, had not given up despite how difficult the situation was. He showed determination and a strong desire to protect Eida. This small action was important because if the strongest fighter had lost hope, it could have destroyed the morale and spirit of the entire team. Daemon began fighting Mamushi and his clones, but they managed to keep him busy on one side of the battlefield in order to pull him away from Eida. This gave the other Mamushi clones an opening to try and devour her. Boruto had now returned to the fight and was able to save Eida. He quickly flew to her location and above the Mamushi clones surrounding her, he pulled out his blade and cut off all their heads in a single strike. However, despite Daemon and Boruto working hard to reduce their numbers, Mamushi continued to create more clones at an even faster rate. This became a serious problem, as Shikadai noticed that both Boruto and Daemon's stamina is not unlimited. Eventually they would get tired and Boruto's chakra would slowly decrease. So the question became, could they defeat Mamushi and his clones in time to save Eida? Even Daemon noticed that he was starting to get short of breath after using his ability to reflect attacks to destroy many Mamushi clones at once. Mitsuki also joined the fight, taking out many clones as possible, but he and Boruto could see there was no end to them. Boruto then asked Shikamaru for his honest assessment and advice as the battle strategist, asking what they could do to shift the battle in their favor. The only option was to move Eida from Mamushi and his clones as quickly as possible, because there was no one to deal with their growing numbers. The plan was for Eida, with Daemon on her back, so he could reflect any incoming attacks to fly high into the air. Boruto would fly behind them to fight and defend them from any Mamushi clones that Daemon could not handle. Even with this plan in motion, they could not put too much distance between themselves and Mamushi, because the clones were moving faster than expected. Even while Boruto and Daemon defended Eida and Boruto destroyed the pursuing clones, they could not maintain this for long. Eventually, they would become exhausted and their chakra levels would drop greatly, which could take him out of the fight completely. This leaves the question unanswered. With everything already going against them, how was Eida still saved? For every clone Daemon and Boruto destroy while trying to protect Eida, another clone is multiplying into even more clones to continue the pursuit. These clones seem never ending, So how will Boruto and Daemon deal with them before they run out of stamina and chakra? If Boruto and Daemon ran out of stamina and chakra, there'll be nobody left strong enough to stop Mamushi from devouring Eida. Chojo, Shikadai, Miski, Konohamaru, and Delta are not powerful enough to defeat Mamushi and his clones on their own. Kawaki is also unable to help even though he's strong because his scientific ninja tech body has overheated. The team understood that they had to do something quickly to stop this future from becoming reality. If Eida were devoured, Mamushi would evolve. He would gain access to Eida's Senrigan eyes, which will allow him to see both the present and the past of all the way back to the time Eida was born. Even worse, Mamushi would gain access to Eida's omnipotence ability. This power will allow him to influence reality itself by altering people's memories so they can match whatever reality he wants. To prevent this from happening, Kashinkoji began influencing Inojin and helping him understand why he was important in saving Eida. Before the battle against Mamushi even began, Kashinkoji helped Inojin understand the importance of mastering the mind transmission formation map jutsu. Because Kashinkoji shared information with Inojin about this new jutsu, the future had already started to change. Kashinkoji wanted Inojin to understand the importance of the future changing, as well as the information that had been revealed earlier during the battle that would eventually lead to Mamushi's defeat. However, Kashinkoji didn't want to directly tell Inojin how Mamushi would be defeated, because doing so could alter the future again. By putting together all the information that had been shared among the team through his mind transmission formation map jutsu, Inojin was eventually able to figure out how to defeat Mamushi on his own. Earlier in the battle, Amado wondered how the Mamushi clones were able to share information with each other so quickly, even though they were spread across different parts of Konoha. Amado eventually came to the conclusion that the clones might all share visual and auditory information with each other and with Mamushi himself. In other words, there might be a single collective consciousness controlling the entire Mamushi clones and Mamushi himself. Because Amado shared this information with the team through Inojin's new jutsu, Inojin realized what he needed to do. He then asked Kashinkoji to send them to the battlefield. Inojin understood that Mamushi had lowered his intelligence greatly by creating more than 1000 clones of himself. Because of this, Mamushi had become irrational enough to fall for even simple tricks. Inojin decided to take advantage of that weakness. He planned to use the mind transfer jutsu to take control of one Mamushi clone. Since all the clones were connected through one mind, Inojin believed that controlling one clone would allow him to control Mamushi and all of the clones at the same time. To prepare for this plan, Inojin told Himawari to take care of him afterwards. This was his way of secretly signaling to Himawari that she would need to heal him after he got injured during the battle, without revealing too much information and accidentally changing the future. After that, Inojin asked Shikadai to use his Shero paralysis jutsu to capture one Mamushi clone. Shikadai successfully trapped the clone, which gave Inojin enough time to use his mind transfer jutsu on it. By doing this, Inojin successfully took control of Mamushi's mind and the minds of all the clones connected to him. As a result, Inojin was able to stop all the Mamushi clones, including Mamushi himself, from chasing Eida. He completely immobilized all of them. Inojin then remembered Kashinkoji telling him and the rest of the team that the only way to destroy Mamushi and stop him from dividing into more clones was to destroy both of his eyes. Using this information, Inojin, while controlling Mamushi and the clones, used one clone that was standing near Daemon who was touching Eida. Inojin then made that clone shout at Daemon and express the intention of destroying both of Daemon's eyes. Because Daemon was touching Eida, Daemon's reflection ability activated and reflected that killing intent back onto Mamushi and all the clones connected to him through the mind. As a result, both eyes of Mamushi and all of his clones were destroyed at the same time, which ultimately defeated Mamushi and ended the threat of the clones. However, because of the weakness of the mind transfer jutsu, Inojin's own eyes were also destroyed during the process. Fortunately, because Inojin had earlier told Himawari to take care of him after the battle, Himawari was able to reach him in time and heal both of his eyes using her Kurama powers. This is how Mamushi was defeated and how Eida was saved from being devoured. After Mamushi died, a Thorn Soul Bulb was created. Boruto wanted to use this Thorn Soul Bulb to free bark from the divine tree in which he had been trapped, which was also the reason Mamushi came into existence in the first place. Inojin showed great bravery with his plan to defeat Mamushi. His actions proved that the right information can become extremely powerful when it is used by the right person, even if that person is not the strongest fighter on the battlefield. What mattered most was not physical strength, but how Inujin used his abilities and intelligence to take advantage of the information he had in order to influence the outcome of the battle. By understanding how Mamushi and his clones were connected and combining that knowledge with his mind transfer jutsu, Inujin was able to do something that even the strongest fighters could not achieve through direct contact alone. This showed that strategy, timing, information can sometimes be more important than raw power in battle. It also showed the importance of teamwork throughout the fight to save Eida. Every member of the team contributed in different ways, whether through strength, healing strategy, defense, or sharing information. Without the information Kashingoji shared, Amado's analysis, the support from Shikadai and Himawari, and the pressure Boruto, Daemon, and the others placed on Mamushi, Inujin's plan would not have succeeded. In the end, Mamushi was defeated, Eida was saved from being devoured, and Boruto was finally able to obtain the Thornsoul Barb created after Mamushi's death in hopes of freeing Bark from the Divine Tree. Please let me know in the comment section what you think about this entire battle to save Eida. What did you think about the story, the strategy used by the team, and the way Mamushi was defeated? Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.